Hollywood, what's up, brother?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.
Now, on Chronoso, I have another guy called Dave Hollywood. I think we're running into the same lane here, but I love it. Thanks for joining me, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Just running around today, and I got to still catch up on some other wrestling outside of what we're going to talk about today. So
perfect.
That's tonight's goals.
We are here to talk about the main event of SummerSlam. That is Roman Reigns versus his cousin Jey Uso for the WWE Universal Championship in Tribal Combat. I believe Tribal Combat is, we were recording this before Monday Night Raw. I don't really think anything is going to happen on Raw, but they might explain what Tribal Combat is. But I'm under the assumption is just a no DQ match where there are no family members allowed to jump in. That's the impression I'm under. But what say you? Do you think that's the kind of the same vibe you're with?
Do you believe that it's going to be where the winner gets the lay, or?
Well, yeah, it's for the championship and it's for the head of the table. I think that on last SmackDown, Roman threw the lay over the title, so I think that he's probably symbolizing that lay is more important than championship. But my thing is that is him messing with him messing with Jey by trying to say the family's bigger than the championship. But his vulnerabilities and his sensitiveness. It's always protecting that championship. He's been using the Usos for 3 years to protect his championship, and all that's coming to a clash here in the main event.
Yes. So I'm excited to see. I think that Roman has stepped up the game every time it comes to these type of matches, and just to think what they possibly can do outside of the stipulations that they already did between Jey and Roman, and what he's done with Brock over the last 2 years. It should be exciting to see them top 4 or 5 stipulation matches that have already been through the roof A+ matches. So
yeah, for sure. There's a lot of layers here that they can kind of go down. There's a lot of paths they can go on, and they do a good job of kind of keeping you guessing throughout this whole bloodline story. It really is a top 5 story in this company's history. I'm very firmly putting my flag down on that one. I think it's safe to say here, unless if they absolutely destroy the landing, but I pretty much have faith that we're going to be smooth sailing here with this bloodline to the finish line, whatever that finish line may be. I don't suspect it to be at SummerSlam, but I think we're going to have a pivotal moment here.
Yeah, I think if it were me, I think this is probably going to be the slowdown point for the Usos. I think we've been getting a very, very steady push of the Usos since that whole reemergence of SmackDown Live and when they rebuilt their characters. And I think that, they put enough time in. I think that this is a good way to, give them a little bit of a break after this match is had. And, this has pushed them to a whole nother stratosphere when it comes to not only being a tag team, but being individuals and moving to just being Jey and Jimmy as brothers to being singles competitors and showing what they really have across the table. The conversations I think that we had in the group about the 4 or 5 greatest tag teams of all time, and even going back after that conversation and just thinking of not only is it matches, not only is it championships, but it's as much as they are putting in, they're all into this story. And it's taken, not only have they taken this story to another level, they've taken tag team wrestling and WWE to another level, and also brought Sammy along the way, brought him to another level, and took a guy from NXT with Solo, who was still floating in the mid-card area of NXT, and put him instantly into the main event of SmackDown and Raw. So it's been just tremendous across the board.
Yeah, they could really, the paths of a lot of careers could be generated here and really explode coming out of all this. So I have a few questions for you. First one being, do you think this match length will be longer than that MSG segment to open at 42 minutes, I believe it was? Will you take the over-under of 42 minutes total in this match length? Because they could draw this out, and I think they would have us by the palm of their hands the whole time.
I don't think we're going to see 42 minutes.
That's pretty deep.
I think we'll see a steady 25 to maybe a half hour, if that.
Yeah.
Of storytelling.
They took their time at Money in the Bank. I feel like they could have cut 15 minutes, probably 10 minutes out of that, and pretty much landed in the same spot. But anyways, they had that ending was absolutely fantastic. So my next point being off of that, did Jey Uso already have his moment by pinning the tribal chief at Money in the Bank.
Yes. I think that was Jimmy's moment. I think out of this whole story, even going back to Mania, I think we've had the good guys win in Sammy and Kevin, and now the Usos got their moment in the last pay-per-view, and now it's time for Roman to continue the rest of his story.
All right, now let's veer off and said we said Jey is going to win this match. Now let's just veer off and go down that lane a little bit because, like we said, this is a windy road. We can go down any road, but let's just play what if, right? Does Jey Uso have it in him to be a top guy?
Oh, of course.
Of course.
So? After seeing what he did early on in the rivalry in those two main events, on to working with Daniel Bryan, on to going into with Kevin Owens. I don't know if I can go down the rest of the list, but I just know Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan were a huge part of, wow, this guy can actually go across the board.
He's a pretty good resume. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that taking the ball and running with it, if he ever wanted to go singles or if Jimmy ever left the company, I think Jey would be a strong competitor for a champion. It's to even think, hey, maybe Jey could take this title next week or 2 weeks is a huge sentiment compared to what we would have thought 2 years ago.
Even when he started off in the pandemic in 2020, you know what I mean? It's like a month ago he was singing karaoke with the Divas. What are we doing here? But he wasn't even picked for the SummerSlam 36 match. His brother was, where he got hurt.
I remember that battle royal that he won, and everybody's like, "Oh, Sheamus is going to take this," or whoever was in it. I believe Sheamus was in it. And then when Jey won, everybody counted that out like it was never going to go anywhere, and it was just a joke. So to go from a joke to becoming top contender is amazing.
Because you look at it, the Usos as a whole, top 5 tag team of all time in anyone's book. Top 3, sure, absolutely. Now, but singles, you know, I don't know if we're kind of flirting with Jinder Mahal / Kofi Kingston / Great Khali. I think we're above that, but you know, I don't think it's the time to do it, but I would be willing to think that he has enough of a skill set to kind of branch out and be a top guy. I don't think he can deal with staying a top guy like Roman now or whoever, but I think if they went with him, he has enough of a skill set or enough of a pedigree, you know, within his character that they've built up to kind of have a chance outside of, you know, the few guys I named before that.
Even out of the guys that you named, I don't even think any of them even have a fraction of the mic ability that Jey has alone.
Yeah.
And Jey is a fantastic heel or babyface. He played both fantastic. The level that the bloodline brings of humor on top of seriousness is just it's been a beauty.
The only thing off Jey Uso before we pivot off him, I would just be worried outside of this bloodline landscape for him, just to see what he would look like. I'm curious how he would, you know, fare against like a Cody or a Brock, someone outside of this bloodline circle. I don't know, like how he would shape up and like maybe look opposed to him across the ring in like a one-on-one promo segment or whatever. That's the only concern I would have, but I think that, you know, he's main evented a WrestleMania, even if it's a tag match. He's the first guy to pin Roman Reigns in 3 to 4 years. He's main eventing SummerSlam here. So I think that, you know, I think he'd be all right if they decided to go with him. But I do agree with you. It ain't happening.
There's also a difference between Jimmy and Jey that it's probably been not even the last 3 years, probably a little bit further than that, is Jimmy has a very lighter tone to his personality, where Jey does have that aggressive edge, even in his face. And his attitude is much more aggressive. So I could totally see him taking that aggression that is naturally just him and building that into a bigger character outside of just being a tag team.
For sure. I think there's upside there. I just think it needs a little more fine tuning if we were going to go down there. But, you know, a back-to-back victories over Roman Reigns, you're tuned up, man. All right. So next question then. We agree that unfortunately it ain't happening, and it's still Tribal Chief season, as it should be for the foreseeable future. I agree. So my next question is, what's next for Roman Reigns? One, part A here, is the bloodline done here after he defeats Roman, after he defeats Jey? And B, what's next for him?
So I know that you've probably seen a lot of my fantasy booking ideas. Okay. I've come up with this big thing. I'll go through it as quick as possible. I think that we'll see a victory here. Usos right off into the sunset, and I would save them, put them on the shelf until WrestleMania comes around. They deserve a break. They deserve a little bit of time off. I think the next part of the story that you tell for Roman is a Roman and Solo build together to also get Solo to that next level of feeling like a bigger deal, even though he already feels like a main event. So what I would personally do is let Theory lose this U.S. Championship at SummerSlam. After a month or two, you somehow, if it's a tournament, if it's a battle royal, if it's just a one-on-one match, let Solo go ahead, win that United States Championship, and then we start to see this struggle between two champions, the WWE Universal Champion and the U.S. Champion, where Roman still needs Solo's help on all those big matches. So I would probably, after this, do an AJ feud, because it's been years since we've seen that. Maybe a Lashley feud.
You got Lashley. You got building blocks there on Raw. I mean, on SmackDown.
Yeah, because we still have three huge pay-per-views until we start smelling for WrestleMania. And through all of those, Solo's still helping Roman, but as U.S. champ, Roman isn't repaying the favor to Solo. So going into Mania, if it's Cody, if it's Rollins, if it's whoever, it would be Mania where I would allow Solo to turn his back on Roman. But now, after he turns his back on Roman and Roman finally loses that championship, Roman comes back more of a weeping of, why are you turning your back on me? Because we don't have those seeds sowing like we did for the Usos. So now the night after Mania, Solo goes and destroys Roman. So Solo and Roman are standing face to face, and Heyman turns on Roman to build Solo to the next level. And now Solo goes and destroys Roman, the most vicious, probably one of the most vicious attacks that we've ever seen on TV. So then Solo could take that major heel spot as a top guy. I did it for The Rock. I did it for the people. How we all hated that. And Roman could get back to his babyface roots, so he could write off his last year or two as that top face. And you had that. That's the end of the bloodline right there. I can go deeper into it, but I don't want to take too much of your time of telling the rest of that story.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get my calendar out here for SummerSlam 2025. Or excuse me, 2024, where it's Solo versus a returning Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. So I'm gonna book you down for that match right now. All right.
That's where I'm going with that.
Perfect. I don't mind it. Now, Solo, you laid it out. All right. So Solo is a guy that I feel like isn't really ready for that prime time. I have a hard time investing in him. When his matches go beyond 6 minutes, I kind of see a little, and my investment seems to kind of dissipate a little bit. I think he's the complete opposite of Jey from that aspect, but I think he has a bigger ceiling than Jey. Well, I think he just needs more seasoning, and that seasoning could come in 12, 13 months, like you said. And I'm with you on that. I'm not in the Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns WrestleMania 40 aspect. I think that
no, not at all. It'd be SummerSlam next year. Yeah. It's Solo doesn't get that spot yet. But that's where, getting into what you said, that's where Heyman is the perfect guy. If he's not going to go back with Brock, I think at this point we've gotten as much milk out of Roman and Heyman as we possibly can. And I don't think Heyman has much more time, and Heyman can be the perfect catalyst to build Solo to the next level, at least for a solid 6 months to a year, until he can go out and do his Umaga replacement and get in there with Lashley and get in there with bigger guys.
So my whole thing with Heyman is, once Heyman's done with the bloodline, or the bloodline's done with Heyman, I think he realizes that the most important thing to him is family, and his roots is family, and we get the Paulie Dangerous Alliance family back. That's been my whole thing the whole time, that he thinks he needs a family to stay up top. His roots lie within families, his own created family. So I think we kind of get a rerun of that after the bloodline. And I don't know who the guy is to be with it. I don't know if it's Breaker. I don't know if it's Theory. I don't know if it's Madcap Moss. So I don't know who it is, but that's kind of my whole fantasy thing for Heyman there. If we're going to go down, we're going to go down that route. But that's for another day. All right. 2 more questions. First one being, we spoiled it. Jey Uso ain't winning this match. So the other one would be WrestleMania 40. Is Roman Reigns still the champion?
Yes.
Who's he facing?
Of course. Man, if you would ask me this 2 months ago, my money 100% would be on Seth Rollins. I would think Rollins would be taking the Royal Rumble. I'm still leaning towards that because the thing with SmackDown is SmackDown got so left behind on the draft. There's not much on that roster for many contenders for Roman, nor is there space for a lot of heels. So I honestly originally thought that Cody was taking Money in the Bank.
Yeah, that was my initial plan too, and we were going to get the rematch here at SummerSlam, but we didn't get that.
Yeah. And then Rollins was number 2. So again, conversation for another day. I am hoping that the Judgment Day go off with all the gold and tell their story. Maybe Seth can still linger around there, but I'm still 100%. Seth really wants it. Roman really wants it. And if it's not the Royal Rumble, then maybe Elimination Chamber. But I think if it's not Cody, it has to be Seth.
All right, let me paint the picture for you to kind of put a bow on your Seth Rollins call. All right, so Seth is done. He's telling Logan Paul, I got a bad back. I've been needing surgery since 2019. He goes away after SummerSlam. Judgment Day just kills him, takes him out. He returns at the Rumble. Prodigal son wins the Rumble. And he is not done. He was champion. He left as champion, and he wants his title back. But he doesn't want the World Heavyweight title. He wants Roman's title. And then that's how we jump. That's how we jump to it. If you want to go down that road, I'm not necessarily sure. I want Seth Rollins to be the guy to defeat Roman. I think that the guy that defeat Roman should be a springboard for a new superstar to break through. I'm not sure who it is. I really don't.
I don't see them. They haven't really built anybody up to that level unless it's LA Knight. LA
Knight's older than Roman though. But I get you. I'm with him. He's newer than Roman. Roman ain't stale at all. I ain't saying it like that, but he's fresh. He's new to the WWE world. He's new, but you're gonna play that chip. Like we're getting to a state where this Roman title reign, it's like Undertaker level of WrestleMania. It's a chip. It's whatever big chips we've had in the past that we've cashed in. It's getting up there. It's beefed up, and it's a chip to propel someone up. So
to be honest with you, sometimes I'm 100% behind. If it's already 3 years, why not just keep on shaking it up and give it 5 years until you could build a Braun Breaker to that level, until a Keith Lee might return and take it from him or something like that. When we can actually build, like you said, into a new superstar. And right now there is not one superstar that is not 10 years in that I could see taking it off of him.
So, like I said, I don't know, but maybe I'll have to pull that calendar out, and once we get there,
I'm always down for an AJ Styles win at Mania. I'm also down for Nakamura coming out of nowhere and finally taking that title.
He's got a little edge to him now, so we never got that Roman Nakamura match, and they were on the same brand forever, and it felt like we got it at Tribute to the Troops in a 6-minute smosh or whatever.
It's a fantastic story to be told. A man that grew up in this system and a man that grew up in the Japanese system, and the difference of the hold back because he did come from Japan. Triple H and the guys could easily tell that story on respect for a Japanese wrestler, and it's time to allow a Japanese wrestler to get to a certain level that nobody else in history for a Japanese wrestler in the WWE has truly gotten to.
Funaki territory. Here we go.
Number 1.
All right, Hollywood. This was fun, man. We'll have to get you on another one.
I would love to. Anytime. Always.